What's good, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry here. We got a loaded show on tap for you guys today. Jalen Milroe went on a bit of a media tour in New York yesterday. He was on CBS as well as two different shows, First Take and Get Up on ESPN. He spoke a little bit about Kalen DeBoer and the relationships he has been able to build in a very short amount of time as Alabama's new head coach. And then Steve Mboumoua, I'm pretty sure I said that right. I asked Sam Brown, our resident Frenchman here at Chat Sports, how to say it, and that's how he told me how to say it. So we're going to give a little bit of an update about Steve Mboumoua on today's show, as well as some comments that Lincoln Riley made at Big Ten Media Day in regards to how Alabama has scheduled in the Nick Saban era. But before we get into that, we are so close to breaking that sub record from July of 2023. Just like the Crimson Tide, we are trying to get better year after year, so help us get there. We are, about 47 away. If we get 50 subs on this video, we will absolutely hit that number. We've got so much content loaded up for you guys here in the future. The season is right around the corner, so make sure you guys are subscribed right here. That's youtube.com/@RollTideTV. The first thing we're going to talk about on today's show, like I said, Jalen Milroe went on a little bit of a media tour yesterday, and he spoke very glowingly about Kalen DeBoer on ESPN's Get Up on Thursday morning. This is what he had to say about Alabama's new head coach. He said he's very personable. I enjoy being around him beyond the coaching. He's done a really good job of just getting to know the players with the short time that he's been here. Everyone has built a relationship with Coach DeBoer. As far as me as a quarterback, he's offensive-minded. He's pushing me each and every day to be the best quarterback in the country, which is something that is outstanding as far as development and getting me to where I want to go, playing in this field, which is great. Look, I am so excited to really have an offensive-minded head coach. Obviously, Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time, extremely defensive-minded, in his background as well with Alabama. And at the end of the day, me personally, I think Alabama's offense the last couple of years just haven't been as good as it was under like Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin as well. So I'm very excited to get somebody who has that offensive, mindset on this or on that side of the ball, to be able to bring Jalen Milroe just along in his development to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Jalen Milroe kept on, and he said more about Kalen DeBoer. He said, then as far as the team goes, it's a very different coaching style as far as Coach Saban and Coach DeBoer. But one thing that is consistent and a constant theme is they're going to push you to be successful, so that we're all confident in Coach Kalen DeBoer and just excited for what the future holds. So this Alabama team seems very confident in Coach Kalen DeBoer. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section right now. What is your confidence level in Kalen DeBoer as Alabama's new head coach going forward here? Scale it for me 1 to 10 in the comment section. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Comment right now at the pinned comment. The next thing I want to talk about on today's show, Steve Mboumoua is set to enroll in JUCO. He's going to be enrolling at Southwest Community College. He was a 4-star defensive lineman for Alabama in their 2024 class from Quebec, Canada. And, English is not his first language. He speaks French. He's French-Canadian, so he's going to have to pass an English class to get into Alabama. And at the end of the day, it's just one of those things, you got to do what you got to do. And there's been a lot of praise from his coach at Southwest Community College that we're going to get to here in a second. But coming out of high school, coming out of Canada, he was a 4-star recruit in that 2024 class, the number 355 player overall, the number 45 defensive lineman, and the number 1 player from Canada. And I think a lot of these, out-of-country guys, whether that be Canada, whether that be, Justin Okoronkwo from Germany, whether that's Olas Alinen from Finland. I think a lot of these guys are underrated just because, the level of football inside the United States is just so much bigger, especially at that high school level. I think just because they're rated a little bit lower does not mean that they're not going to be very good. And his coach, Cliff Collins, has said that in his time so far at Southwest Community College. He was talking about Mboumoua, what he has done so far since getting there, he said everything has been good so far. He's a tremendous talent. He's athletic. If you talk about a well put together player, first week he got here, we were working out, the last set of bench, 4 sets of 5. That last set of 5, he put 375 on there and repped it like it was paperweight. He was well over that 500-pound bencher. He's mature for his age, a guy who gets up every morning and he's on the track stretching. He's got a purpose, and he's going to be a pro one day. If he wins a rep, he goes, Coach, what can I do to get better? That's just his mindset. His speed to power is great. His hands are great. And as far as using his hands, I think the guy can bull rush anybody because he is strong and loves the weight room. Now, like I said, Steve Mboumoua is going to JUCO this year, so he will be joining Alabama still in that 2025 class. So you can go ahead and add him to that list of very talented 2025 recruits that Alabama's coming in. And you go ahead and add him to that defensive line room, because right now Alabama only has 2 in that defensive line room in that 2025 class. So you go ahead and add them there. I think he's going to be, Alabama's still in the running for a couple of those defensive linemen in that 2025 recruiting class. But I think with what you have right now, I think Alabama's pretty set on the defensive line. Today's show is presented by Game Time, and we love summertime here at Chat Sports because Major League Baseball is in full swing. And you guys know I love the Atlanta Braves, and I love going over to Atlanta to catch a game every single chance I get. Prices on the Game Time apps actually get closer, or actually go down the closer you get to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat. They also have the lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And with Alabama games just now over a month away, you can get tickets to watch the Crimson Tide. And Game Time doesn't just have sporting events on there. They also have concerts, comedy. You can go see Tom Segura at the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater if you guys want to. They have that on there. And they've got so many different things on Game Time that I really enjoy out of any ticketing app. They have those last-minute tickets. They have flash deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats. Because at the end of the day, what does it really matter if you're in seat 7 or seat 9? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because you want the lowest prices guarantee, and Game Time has that for you guys. They also have that panoramic view of your seat, so you don't get blocked out by anything stupid like a foul pole, or you're sitting in a weird section where the press box is right beside you or something like that. So you do not want that to happen to you guys. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Check out GameTime.co for your last-minute tickets. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. USC's head coach Lincoln Riley was speaking at Big Ten Media Days now that USC is in the Big Ten, no longer in the Pac-12. I like to call it the Pac-12. It's now I call it Tupac now because there's only 2 teams there. Anyways, Lincoln Riley talked about how Alabama scheduled during the Nick Saban era, saying that basically they scheduled a bunch of cupcakes in non-conference, and I don't think that's really as accurate as, he kind of made it out to be. This is the full statement by Lincoln Riley about Alabama's scheduling. He said, Bama was ahead of the curve for years, I thought, on how they scheduled in the non-conference. They would occasionally hit the marquee non-conference games. They played 2 other not very good teams. They'd play one late, so they got essentially a little bit of a bye week. They're late in the season. They didn't schedule for the fans. They scheduled to win championships. And at the end of the day, I don't think this really, is going to bode well for Lincoln Riley now being in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten's a whole lot harder than the Pac-12 is. But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section right now. Does Alabama need to schedule harder in non-conference going forward here with Kalen DeBoer at the helm? Type Y for yes or N for no in the comment section. Look, I think that the SEC is the best conference in college football. And when you talk about those non-conference games, Look, Alabama has scheduled pretty good non-conference games, especially early in the season, pretty much every single year. And the SEC, just in general, is a whole lot harder than so many other conferences out there. Scheduling hard non-conference games really doesn't do anybody any kind of favors. Alabama, the last 10 years anyways, has had one of the strongest strength of schedules every single year. Last year, 2023, they had the second strength of schedule. This is all from ESPN, by the way. 2022, they had the 9 strength of schedule. 2021, they had the number 1 strength of schedule. 2020, they had the number 6. They had a little bit of a weaker schedule from 2019 to 2017, but 2016, number 1 strength of schedule. 2015, number 1 strength of schedule. 2014, number 4 strength of schedule. USC hasn't had a top 10 strength of schedule since 2019. So I don't want to hear shit from Lincoln Riley about strength of schedules. The out-of-conference games that Alabama has scheduled. Now, we're taking out the Mercers and stuff, and those are the teams that he's talking about, the Mercers and teams like that. But he says that every now and then they schedule the marquee games. These are pretty much all the opening games, and, Texas, a couple games into the season. Alabama has scheduled pretty well when it comes to those marquee out-of-conference games, winning against West Virginia in 2014, playing number 20 Wisconsin in 2015, beating the hell out of number 20 USC. Oh, by the way, that was with a freshman Jalen Hurts at quarterback. They go in and they beat number 3 Florida State 24-7. They lose their quarterback in that game. They go on to not have a very good season, but really it was because they lost their quarterback. Louisville, they're still a Power 5 team, so I threw them in there. Beat the hell out of them 51-14 in 2018. Duke, also a Power 5 team. They're in the ACC. I think, you can't call that a weak out-of-conference game because they're in a Power 5. They beat them 42-3. In 2020, it was the COVID season, so they didn't have any out-of-conference games. Only played in the SEC that year. So, honestly, that year was one of the most impressive Nick Saban coaching jobs that, in my opinion, in his career. And then in 2021, they go and beat the hell out of number 14 Miami. And then you play Texas on the road, and then you play Texas at home. You go 1-1 against them. I don't really understand what Lincoln Riley is really complaining about. Look, Lincoln Riley, what he needs to do right now at USC is focus on winning games. Last year, they had one of the best quarterbacks in the country, going number 1 overall in Caleb Williams, but they had a absolutely terrible defense. Lincoln Riley needs to figure out what he needs to do on the defensive side of the ball instead of scheduling, different ways to be able to make it into the college football playoffs. Look, the Big Ten is way harder than the Pac-12. USC's schedule this year is actually pretty intense. They've been working for about 2 years to get LSU off their schedule and to no avail. They're going to be playing LSU this year. They're going to be playing at Michigan. They're playing Wisconsin. They're playing at Minnesota, who's known to upset some teams. They're playing Penn State. They're playing at Maryland, at Washington. They're playing Nebraska, UCLA, at UCLA, also known to upset some teams every now and then. And then they're finishing out the season versus Notre Dame. So I'll tell you what, Lincoln Riley, why don't you just focus on your defense, making sure that they're getting a little bit better, and focus on doing barbecue a little bit better as well.